Are you able to turn off your brain, to unplug, and to not carry the weight of your work, either logistically by completing notes, documentations, doing emails at home, or mentally? Are you mentally and emotionally able to decompress, to complete your stress cycle, to be present at home in a meaningful way without thinking about work? Welcome to The PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Since I started working in aesthetics and plastic surgery, I've taken a hard look at my skincare routine. Our product choices make a big difference in how we look, and that influences how we feel. Confidence can't be bottled, but if it could be, you'd find that confidence in Modere's Cell-Proof skincare line. My favorite products are the serum, double cleanser, and the infusion mask. The infusion mask feels amazing. I use it 2 times a week, and it's a great skin pick-me-up that's safe, quick, and effective. Seriously, my skin has never looked or felt better. For $10 off your first order of the Modere Cell-Proof skincare products, use the link in the show notes. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The PA is In. Today, we're talking all about the highest paying specialties. Each year, you'll find circulating articles from sources like the AAPA and Medscape and Becker's Review and others that list the top 10 specialties according to pay. So the highest paying specialties for the PA profession. It often includes things like cardiovascular surgery, dermatology, neurosurgery, other surgical subspecialties, urgent care, and the emergency room. Money matters. And I think that has been made clear on other podcast episodes where I've talked about the importance of having a handle on your money, financial independence, and being able to choose what's best for you and your family during this season. So I don't want to gloss over the fact that salary is important and money matters in so much as that you need to earn enough. You need to sit down and figure out what your enough point is. That point in which you can support your family, meet your basic needs, and have some margin for fun and abundance and the things that you value in your life. Salary is important insofar that it helps you to reach that enough point. But basing your specialty and your job search choices on these top 10 paying specialties in the PA profession is a little bit narrow-minded. Now, I will link the AAPA top 10 specialties by pay article in the show notes. So if you're interested in checking that out, head to the show notes and peep that report. But putting salary on a pedestal means that you're missing other, arguably more important factors in finding a position that meets your needs during the season that you are in. So in somewhat of a response to seeing these top paying specialty lists, I want to share a list of my own. These are things that are more important than how much money you make. This list is based both on my personal experience practicing clinically as a PA, as well as audience answers. So I threw out this question in a couple forums and communities that are PA rich that I belong to. And these answers are a compilation of the responses from the PA community and my own experience. I hope that this episode serves to broaden your horizons and realize that how much you make and how much people make in a specialty is not an adequate predictor of their level of happiness and fulfillment and whether they enjoy what they do and whether they're able to connect with their patients. So instead of the top 10 paying PA specialties, here are a list of 10 more important things than salary to consider when choosing a job or when negotiating to improve things at your current position. First up, the people. This one came up a lot in community responses. Whether it was people saying the team, the culture, the community, finding your tribe, relationships with your attendings and coworkers, how you are treated as a person by management. Specifically, someone said, I love my job because my attendings are my champions. Over time, working in this group, they have defended the APPs, they have supported the PAs, they have been interested and invested in our professional development. They have also gone on to say, I like my attendings as people. I enjoy my coworkers. I am in a community where mentorship is important. So newer PAs are taken under the wing of more advanced PAs, that experienced people are sharing their knowledge and wisdom with other people on the team, that they're not saying, I had to learn the hard way and so do you, but rather they're saying, this was my experience. Here's what I've learned. Here's a trick. Here's a clinical pearl. Here's something that I can give to you that's going to help you to take better care of your patients down the road. These communities where the people around you are helpful, where they're not gatekeeping information, where it's not toxic or punishing or belittling. And if you don't know something, it's an opportunity for them to teach you, for you to learn and grow, and therefore for you to take better care of your patients now and tomorrow. There was a lot of responses that talked about team culture and rapport. Specifically, how supportive and understanding is the team? Things like, if I call out sick, can that team function without me? Do they have a system for people pivoting to support other people who need to take last minute time off? Can they function without you? And do they give you a hard time if something comes up and you're needing to step back and take care of personal things instead of being on shift or at the hospital or at the office on that particular day? And I think that extends beyond attendings and colleagues and coworkers and support staff. This is a big thing in how you relate to your administrative team. Does the administrative team see you as a valuable asset? Do they treat you like a person? Do they treat you like they would want to be treated if you're doing something like calling in and they have to reschedule the day, or making arrangements so that you can get out on time for a doctor's appointment? All of those things go into these people. So something that came up a lot in answers about what people really value at their workplace above pay was finding your tribe and finding a place where you felt included and valued, and like you were a part of a team, and that you were seen on equal footing as the attendings, on equal footing as the other providers, and that there wasn't this strong punitive or hierarchy as a part of the culture at that workplace. Number 2, the schedule. Now, this looks different for everyone. If you remember back to that episode where my virtual assistant and PA friend Sarah Miller shared about her experience working in the ICU, specifically transitioning to nights in a part-time capacity, because that is what works for her family. That would never work for me. I would not do well with that situation, but that episode is actually titled Never Say Never, because you never know what's going to come up from a schedule standpoint. So Sarah and I are actually in very similar stages of our life, and her schedule that works for her is very different than the schedule that works for me. So it doesn't actually matter what the schedule is, but does the schedule work for you? Is a set schedule better? Is a flexible schedule better? Is shift work better, or office hours? A couple of people responded to this and said flexibility, flexibility, flexibility. So whether that is a position that is a mix of inpatient, outpatient, or academia and clinical, a schedule where you can do what I talked about earlier and have a clear, calm accommodation of last minute schedule changes. You're a human who gets sick. You might have people in your life who need you to occasionally last minute take time off to take care of them if they are unable to take care of themselves. The schedule, whether it's a set schedule or a schedule with flexible scheduling, the bottom line, more important than pay, is a schedule that works for you. Another thing that came up in responses to this question was that someone said, hey, I work hourly and I love it. So here's the thing about working hourly versus working salary. When you're working salary and you work more and the workload increases and you have to go in early or stay late or chart at home, that is all sort of under that umbrella of being a salaried employee. And we sort of accept that as salaried employee, when things wax and wane, sometimes there's less work to do and sometimes there is more work to do. in healthcare, there doesn't seem to be a lot of seasons where there's less work to do. So if there's more work to do, if that work is coming home with you, if that work is happening outside of work hours, if you're having to go early and stay late regularly in order to get your charting and your administrative tasks done, as a salaried employee, that can lead to resentment because you are working harder and you're getting paid the same. So this idea came up of getting paid hourly, of having a set schedule, of getting paid hourly. If you have meetings outside of that time, if you're charting outside of that time, if you're having to work outside the bounds of those days that you normally work, that you get paid, which makes it feel a lot different. If you're cracking open your laptop in the evenings or on weekends when you're normally not working, but you're getting paid for that time, it changes the way that we see that time and our value as a part of putting in that work. So whatever the schedule is, a schedule that works for you, one that has the potential for flexibility if your life circumstances change or you need things to change, that position is going to grow and change with you. Because you could get a job and then 2, 5, 10 months later, 2, 5, 10 years later, things could change in your life. And the original schedule that you agreed to might not work. So let this serve as a reminder to you that you can look at your schedule. You can look at your current practice or group or position and say, hey, this is not really fitting my life anymore. What can we do to make sure the needs of the department are met and patients are being seen? But what could we do to make some adjustments so that I can get out at a time that works for me, come in at a time that works for me, and work the schedule to fit into your life, not your life to fit around your work schedule. I understand that is more palatable and easier to do in certain departments and situations than others, but keep in mind that no schedule is set in stone. Even if you have had a set schedule for a long time, if it is no longer working for you, is always something that you could reevaluate and change depending on your group and the other needs of their group. I have had negotiation clients, colleagues, and even personally have had success negotiating schedule changes in times of turmoil. So if things are changing, if people are leaving, if you're going to a different office or a different sort of position within the department, you don't actually need to necessarily get a new job to get a new schedule. Sometimes when that turbulence is happening, it's an opportunity for you to be able to do things a little bit differently and for them to accommodate your schedule requests because of that turbulence and because things are changing anyway. So for you to say, hey, I'm going to leverage my seniority a little bit. And instead of the new person filling this slot that's open, I'm going to carve out a new position for myself, or I'm going to fill part of this slot with me and have the new person have this other schedule and hire someone who that schedule works for them. So all of that to say, schedule matters a whole lot. Flexibility, whether it's set or shifts or whatever works for you, but having a schedule that works for you and your life is so important. Third, working somewhere where they understand that you are a person first and a PA second. The bottom line here is that finding a job where you can maintain your humanity, where you have the ability to take care of yourself, and that you are treated well, like a person, not like a provider, not like a revenue generating unit, that you are treated like a person, that you are cared for, that you are seen, that you are treated with compassion and kindness is so important. I have seen this happen very successfully, specifically in practices where they have a specific mission and values that align with your values. It's really hard to feel fulfilled and feel like you're in a great position job-wise if you're in a place where you are at odds with what the administration is trying to achieve or with what the practice is moving towards or has as a goal for their practice. So oftentimes what this looks like for people is they'll say, our job is really family friendly. We have a family friendly practice that you, if you have to call out because your kiddo has an ear infection, are treated with kindness and that your patients are rescheduled and that you are not given the third degree or a hard time, or even that the culture is not that we have this narrative that we would never take time off because we have patients scheduled and that we would always be sacrificing of ourselves and of our families in order to fulfill those appointments. I have heard people say that if their kids are sick, they have the ability to bring them to work. I've never personally done that. And especially with a sick kid, I think that could be really challenging. But even a practice where your schedule is reliable and you're regularly getting out on time in order to get to the other places where you need to be, and that they're not cramming your schedule so full that you don't have time to eat or go to the bathroom or make a phone call or take a breath or take a break or take a walk. All of those things are things that people need to do in order to stay on their A game and productive and taking really good care of the patients in their care. So, getting out of the office on time, this flexibility, this understanding that you are not a provider, that you're not a widget that produces more widgets, but you are a person who is taking care of people. And then that requires compassion and a flexibility as a practice in order for you to keep being you so that you can keep doing your job. The next thing that people said mattered more to them than pay is autonomy. Feeling like they're practicing at the top of their license, that wherever they are, whatever limitations are placed on them, like legally, that they are up against that ceiling, that they are making their own clinical decisions, that their attendings are available, and that they have this great team practice model, but that they are truly making independent clinical decisions, that they are not sort of serving in a lesser capacity, whether that's scribing or whether that's seeing the patients and the attending is making the plan, that you are truly assessing, treating, following up, interpreting, ordering, all of the things that are included in the vast, vast purview of being a PA in whatever specialty or area of medicine that they're working in, that they feel like they're not limited in the ability to do that thing, to perform the procedure, to order the test, to interpret the x-rays or the lab results, that all of those things under that umbrella of autonomy are happening. Now, I think that this can be tricky because you want to be autonomous, but also being a part of a team where you can say to other experienced people or other people, hey, can you give me a fresh set of eyes? Can I run this case by you? Can I see what you would do? I feel like I'm missing something, or this person isn't improving, or I'm concerned about these results and I'm not sure exactly what I would do in this situation. So I would say like autonomy asterisk, autonomy with support, autonomy with the ability to review cases and ask questions. Those things are super important for us to feel fulfilled and for us to really feel like we're doing our job well and taking care of our patients well. When you are working in healthcare, it can be hard to see the forest for the trees. Are you burned out, or is this a normal reaction to the stress that you experience on a regular basis? Is this a problem or just a rough patch? The Burnout Risk Assessment is designed to help you determine your risk of burnout, identify your strengths, and help you to build boundaries. Click the link in the show notes or head to tracybingaman.com/burnout-quiz. Spend less than a minute of your busy day stratifying your own risk of burning out in a field where burnout is incredibly prevalent. You'll get your results and a list of resources and podcast episodes that can help you at any risk level for burnout. Find the link in the show notes. Next up, people said more important than pay is a position that supports their career growth and aspirations. So regardless of specialty or setting, finding a position where your clinical practice and career growth are not stagnant. This one is also a tricky pull between feeling comfortable, like you have a good, solid clinical foundation, like you have your feet on the ground inside of the practice, and also being able to step outside of your comfort zone to grow, to volunteer for committees and projects and research and improving your practice. All of those things outside of that sort of clinical comfort zone where you feel like I'm coming in, I'm seeing patients, I'm doing my job, and I'm going home. I think there is a time to be really getting that clinical foundation of your career. And then there's also a time where we're looking around and saying, I want more. What's next? What's the next step for me? Where do I go from here? And I think that growth looks different for everyone. But having a job in a specialty where you can continue to be on the cutting edge of research, where you can continue to learn, where you can precept students, where you can change the way that the referral patterns are within your hospital or within your community, that you can help patients to get care faster. Whatever it is that really sparks your interest and helps you to think, you know, this would really excite me. This would really reignite my spark. This would improve our delivery. This would improve the systems that we're using, all of those things, that ability to grow. And it's not always a leadership position. I think automatically we think, I'm going to be clinical and then I'm going to be in a clinical leadership position. You can be in quality and performance improvement. You can be in education. You can go to the medical industry. There's all these different things that you can do, but is the position that you're considering, or is the position that you're in, one where you have the ability to spread your wings and research those things and try out things to see what you like? Is it going to be adjacent to other opportunities? When I was early in my career, one of the huge reasons that I picked general surgery was that I didn't know enough about other surgical subspecialties to say for sure that I wanted to do surgical oncology or urology or CT surgery or trauma or any of these other sort of surgical subspecialties, neurosurgery, anything that was surgery but adjacent to general surgery. So I sort of did this in a two-step process. I got a position in rural general surgery, used that position to get myself a position in general surgery in a larger area as a part of a larger health network. And as that health network had more of those surgical subspecialties, I was exposed to them. And it wasn't necessarily that I was treating those patients, but it was that we scrubbed next to an orthopedic team on Wednesdays and we were in room 3 and they were in room 4. And so I got to see that surgeon and say hello and get to know their PA, or that I would pop in occasionally to the plastic surgery room because my general surgeon would be fixing the umbilical hernia as a part of an abdominoplasty. And these little snippets of what I would see when I was in the OR or overhearing conversations or consulting on a mutual patient gave me an idea of what specialties I would be interested in if I ever decided to change from general surgery. It put my face to my name so that those surgeons would know who I was. And it helped me to really be adjacent to what I wanted to be doing next. It doesn't guarantee that you can get a position in that field or that you can get that person to hire you. But man, they're a lot more likely to hire you if you've popped into their room with a student, if you've been kind to their intern who happened to be lost looking to the OR, if you know them and they know of you and they can say, what's this person's reputation? That ability to grow and to always be thinking, what's next for me? Doesn't even need to be a new job. It can be a new sort of role within your current position. It can be some growth within what you're doing clinically. It can be even a narrowing of the spectrum of what you're doing within your current practice. But I want you to always be thinking, what's next? And what can I do now to get myself ready, to get myself the skills and in a position and near the people that I need to be near and in the rooms that I need to be in and, part of the projects that I need to be to get to where I'm going. So always be asking yourself, what's next? And if you're considering a move, ask yourself, does that job give me the ability to grow and stretch and do what's next for me in my career? Is it in the direction of where I want to head? Next up, more important than pay is how much of a huge pain point is a burden of yours. So what is the administrative paperwork burden in the job that you're thinking about taking? And do they have systems to reduce the administrative burden? Or is there a structure that you have time to get your notes and your documentation done, to get patients called back, to get your in-basket reviewed? Do you have time off of direct patient care, of that clinical time in seeing patients, in order to do things like attend meetings or join communities and the support to do those things? So oftentimes we have a full-time position where we are seeing patients the lion's share of the time when we're at work, and these things sort of get plugged in amidst the seeing of patients. So the committee meeting is over lunch when you normally take a break, take a walk, eat, hopefully, and that you don't get a break that day. So it almost de-incentivizes you to raise your hand and say, yes, I want to be on the credentialing committee. Yes, I want to be on the scheduling committee. Yes, I want to be on the call committee, because it's another burden that you have to sort of fit in around the work that you're already doing. Does this job Have support so that if you're going to step out for a meeting, someone else is going to see your patients or cover your pager, or they're going to block your schedule so that you're not in the meeting thinking, I have 2 patients in rooms right now and I really need to go, and that you're not able to focus on what you're doing outside of that. I firmly believe every position needs buffers built into the schedule or blocks of administrative time where you can get all of the paperwork that you need to get done. Because let's face it, even with the most amazing electronic health records and whatever artificial intelligence does as it comes into the healthcare space, paperwork will always be a thing. Signing notes will always be a thing. Getting charting and documentation done will always be a thing. So is that thing something that is built in to your day? And is it a reasonable thing? So along with this administrative burden, paperwork, documentation puzzle is, what are the clinical demands? How many patients are you seeing? Is that structured in a way that your template makes it so you can get the notes done throughout the day, or maybe at lunchtime and at the end of the day? Is it built for you to be able to do that? Or is it something that you're always behind on? You're always taking home, you're always doing outside of work. And that's different for everyone. So I think a big miss in healthcare is we'll say, this is the template for all of the urology PAs. You see 17 patients a day. I'm just making this up. Urology is often my go-to specialty because I have a lot of experience with that, both inpatient and outpatient from our prior team. But urology PAs see 17 patients a day. They see 10 follow-ups, 7 new patients are 30 minutes, follow-ups are 15 minutes. They have an hour for lunch. This is a template. And what they don't account for is that those PAs that are seeing those patients, one is a brand new grad who's just off orientation, who has more time for clinical decision making, who takes more time for documentation. And one of them is a PA with 30 years of experience, 25 of which are in urology, who could see those 17 patients in his or her sleep, right? So those two people have different clinical capacities. This is something I would love to dive into in another episode, to really talk about, like, what is your clinical capacity? Are you at your clinical capacity? Are you over your clinical capacity and sort of struggling to keep up with notes and documentation? And that's going to be different for everyone. Now, that's only true for people who have a templated outpatient schedule. It's not for the ER, urgent care, inpatient. Those are all very, fluid. But I think the thing you need to ask yourself is, with what they're asking me to do, can I get it done? Can I get the work done? Can I get the charting done? Can I get the sign out done? Can I get the sign off and this patient out of wherever we are in a reasonable time based on my clinical capacity? And there's 2 ways to sort of fix that. More help, right? So if you're inpatient, another provider, some more support, or you improving your efficiency, which is, again, a topic for a whole nother episode. So along those lines, something that is really more important than pay is, and this came up a lot, is the ability to leave work at work. And this is based on your workload and the administrative tasks and all of these things. Are you able to turn off your brain, to unplug, and to not carry the weight of your work, either logistically by completing notes, documentations, doing emails at home, or mentally? Are you mentally and emotionally able to decompress, to complete your stress cycle, to be present at home in a meaningful way without thinking about work? This includes not doing those charting and administrative tasks at home. And again, if you're hourly or salaried, those things make a difference, but are you able to leave work at work? This is such an important thing because burnout happens when our stresses overwhelm our ability to cope with that stress. And if the stress comes home with us and we don't have an ability to complete the stress cycle, and we don't have an ability to turn off that work brain and step into our home life, then we don't have an ability to calm down our nervous system. We don't have an ability to recharge for the next time that we have to go to work. And really, we don't have an ability to enjoy our life outside of work. So that ability to leave work at work is a super, super key piece, and is way more important than how much money you are making. Next up, things that matter more than your salary, the type of practice or practice setting. So a lot of people chimed in the comments like, this setting didn't work well for me, this one was better. And some things that came up were I've had more success with private practice because I can take care of my patients in the way that I want to. And I'm not in this corporate model where they're saying everybody has to do this, everybody has to meet these numbers. I think it's possible to find a position within corporate medicine, a big organization, a big healthcare system, where you can have a schedule that works well for you. You can have the flexibility that you want. But I think it's harder. I think you're up against policies and you're up against large organizational sort of paradigms where it's like, this is the way we've always done it. If we do that for you, we have to offer that to everyone. And so it's harder to fight for and get a position that works well for you inside of a larger organization. That's not to say that you can't do it. I think they're more rare in that setting. And the other two things that came up were finding a 1099 position. So if you're in a position where you don't need benefits or you have the ability to take care of benefits in some other way other than work fostered benefits, a 1099 position where you're essentially an independent contractor and you work PRN, that has been very fulfilling for people because they've been able to dictate their own schedule, because they have a slightly higher pay rate. And I want to do an episode someday on 1099 versus W-2 employees and how to sort of make that calculation and figure out if that's a good move for you. And then academics. So a lot of people said, hey, clinical medicine was sort of like a rat race and academics is a better setting for me. I think the bottom line here is knowing what matters most to you and finding a position that allows you to fulfill those goals of yours and see the patients that you want to see and connect with people and really find a place where you're valued. And that might be different in different practice settings. The next thing, and there's lots of elements of this, but other than salary, things that really matter are the non-salary compensation package. So everything outside of what you're actually being paid, where they compensate you. So my friend Shane Foley created the PA Blueprint, and they were just talking about negotiation. I just saw this on LinkedIn right before I went to hit record, where they said salary is, in a game show, I'd say cash and prizes. Salary is the cash and benefits are the prizes, which I thought was such a great way to think about it. Like, it's not straight money, but it is things that matter. So things to think about above base salary and sort of base compensation: the retirement plan. Is there matching? Is there vest? How soon are you vested? How soon is that money yours? Insurance, other benefits like disability or life insurance, CME reimbursement, and time for CME. I think being paid for call, being paid for productivity in the form of bonuses, whether it's a straight productivity bonus or however your bonus is calculated, when you're paid well for the work that you're doing, you feel a lot less resentful about that work. So this whole episode isn't to say that money doesn't matter. The episode is to say that it matters that you're being paid for the time and the experience and the expertise that you're offering to this organization. Next, in this sort of non-salary comp package column is the paid time off. Having it, being able to use it without guilt. And as a part of this, someone commented on one of my posts, I have changed my mindset about requesting vacation. And if you're not watching this video on YouTube, you can't see me using air quotes, but requesting vacation is in air quotes. So she said, I've changed my mindset. I'm no longer requesting vacation. When I'm using my PTO, I'm notifying my work that I'm unavailable when I'm taking my paid time off. So instead of a vacation request like, hey, please, can I have this Tuesday in July off? You're saying, I'm unavailable to work this day. Please plan accordingly. And that you're doing it clearly and without guilt of using that time. Because PTO is your organization saying, we want to pay you to not work today. And not using that PTO, especially if you don't get it paid out at the end of the year or it expires and you can't roll it over. If you don't use that PTO, it's equivalent to them saying, please stay home. We're going to pay you anyway. And you saying, nah, I'm good. I'm going to come in and work today. So make sure that the PTO is a reasonable amount of PTO, that you understand vacation, sick time, CME, however they break out that paid time off, and that you can use it in a way that is guilt-free. Those patients will be there tomorrow. They'll be there after your week-long vacation in July. Take the time and stop feeling like you have to ask for the time. It's your time to take. You earned it. You deserve it. It is part of the way that they're paying you for doing your job. So taking that PTO, and this relates back to culture. Is the culture one where that when you have to take time off, or when you take time off for vacation and when you notify them about it, that it's like, oh, Tracy, just August vacation and we're so busy in August and other people want off. And nope, it should not be a guilt trip. It should be however the system is for requesting and sort of communicating that paid time off, that it's not associated with you being made to feel bad for taking the time off that you have earned. And then this next one, predictable annual raises. So both understanding how you're going to be evaluated clinically and that there is some mechanism for regular raises. There was an article recently that said the best way to make the most money, it wasn't specific to healthcare, but the best way to make the most money is to change jobs every 2 to 3 years. Change companies, and is a part of that negotiate and kind of make your way up. You can do that to some degree within a specific organization or practice by making sure that there is a system for regular raises. This is something that we're missing a lot. We get in, we spend a lot of time and energy negotiating and making sure we feel good with our starting salary. And then we look up in 2 to 5 years and they've maybe crept it up 1, 2, 3% quote unquote cost of living increases that weren't based on merit. How are the annual raises evaluated? How are they, paid out? Is there retention bonuses? What kind of compensation adjustments can I expect down the road? Is something that's really very important. It's a little bit along the lines of what you're getting paid, but still it's so important to know, how am I going to be evaluated? By whom am I going to be evaluated? And how is that tied to an increase in my compensation package? Number 10. And I think this is arguably one of the most important things. So if you have sort of drifted off and you're multitasking, I want you to come on back to me, because number 10 on this list of things that matter more than salary is this sense of fulfillment. Do you love what you do? Do you feel like your strengths are being used to their fullest potential? Do you feel a sense of connection with your patients? Are you making a difference in their lives as a part of these encounters? Are you healing them? Are you helping them to feel better? Are you getting them to where they need to be? Are you following up and able to really cultivate this deep connection with your patients? Are you able to lean into new science and treatments and breakthroughs and practice patterns and apply those to your current practice? I think that having a sense of fulfillment, regardless of specialty or setting, matters more than what you earn. It matters probably as much as the culture of where you work. These are soft things. And I think that the reason that there's not a list from the AAPA of the 10 top most fulfilling specialties is that fulfillment is harder to measure than salary, right? They send out a salary survey, but they don't send out a fulfillment survey, because fulfillment is fluid and it's a moving target. And how you feel about the work that you do as a PA is not going to be the same every day. It's going to change. It's going to ebb and flow. And there are going to be really hard days at really fulfilling jobs. And there are going to be days that are easier at jobs that maybe aren't as fulfilling. All of that is within the spectrum of what you can expect by practicing medicine and working in healthcare, but really feeling like I am making a difference. I am in the right place, which I say sort of with air quotes or cautiously, because I think the right place for me today is not the right place for me in 10 years. And it's not exactly the same role that I might be fulfilling then. But do you feel like you're operating at the top of your license, like you have that autonomy, like you have that connection with your patients, and that your skills and abilities are being used to their fullest potential, that you have sort of stretched and grown and become all that you can be as a PA? And even if that's not how you feel right now, is that the direction that you're headed in? So even if you're listening to this and you're saying like, oh my gosh, Tracy, I do not feel fulfilled. I do not feel like I'm operating at the top of my license. Are you moving in a positive direction? If not, what can you do to get there? And if so, Great. Keep up that movement so that you are headed towards a position that feels more fulfilling to you, whether that's within your current organization or that requires you to make a change. If you are listening to these and you're thinking, that's great, all of these sound good, I want more of these as a part of my current position, or you're comparing job offers or thinking about making a move, I would love to help you in that capacity. So in the show notes, there's a link for a free coaching call. And there's also a link for a negotiation consult. So part of growing in your career is maybe realizing like, hey, I feel good about the pay that I'm making, or I don't, but I don't feel great about some of these other things. And these are all things that you can negotiate and build boundaries around and ask for, even if you don't make any changes to your practice at all. So being able to know, hey, these are things that I want. How do I negotiate? How do I make these things a part of my current practice, a part of my current group, a part of the way that I'm compensated, a part of the way that I'm thanked for doing the great job that I'm doing? A negotiation consult can help you to do that. So check out that link in the show notes to schedule that. I hope that this episode opened your eyes and helped you to realize that it is about so much more than money, and that feeling good and being a part of a great team and being thanked appropriately for the work that you're doing, all of those things factor into the top specialty, the top position for you. And it's not necessarily how many dollars the people working in that specialty earn. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to another episode of The PA is In. If you loved this, send it to a friend. If you really loved it, head to iTunes, leave a 5-star rating and review. It's so helpful for other people to find the show so that they can be inspired to become unicorn PAs. Also, I'll catch you next time. As for now, this PA is out. Congratulations. You've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA is In, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.